Hey there folks, I'm Mark, in affiliation with Spectrum Pulse, and it's Billboard Breakdown. I don't remember. So last week I said I expected an album bomb coming from DaBaby. I did not expect one of this size, I will admit that. Yeah, while the majority of it fell below the top 40, all of DaBaby's new album KIRK hit the Hot 100 this week, and given that is comfortably over 8 new songs, album bomb rules are in effect. Kinda shame that's about the only thing interesting to happen to the Hot 100 this week, but since I wasn't really planning to review the album at length, this'll give me a good opportunity to get caught up, I guess. But starting with what might be the most static part of this conversation, our top 10, where once again, Truth Hurts by Lizzo has a hold on the number 1. And while it seemed like the radio peaked this week and streaming was not the best, I'm not really seeing what can beat its sales margin or its consistency in all other formats. The only other song that seems to get even close is Señorita by Shawn Mendes and Camila Cabello at number 2. And while its radio was promising, it just lags in every other category for too big of a margin to seriously challenge. And that's what I'm holding on to with Someone You Love by Lewis Capaldi at number 3. As the radio run is not stopping and the sales are strong, but its streaming is thankfully not making serious inroads, thank God. Now on the flip side, Ransom by Lil Tecca is still dominant in on-demand streaming to keep it at number 4, but as radio seems to have finally gotten on board, it's got no serious sales presence to speak of, so I don't see it getting higher. Compare this to No Guidance by Chris Brown featuring Drake at number 5, which might have weaker presence in nearly every category, but has presence in all of them, which sadly means that we're not going to be likely getting away from it anytime soon. Now, I'll admit to being a little bit surprised that Bad Guy by Billie Eilish picked up a slot to number 6. I guess a good sales week will make up for weakening streaming and radio, but I put more of its gain and the consistent strength in all channels for Circles by Post Malone up to number 7, likely more down to the abrupt losses for Panini by Lil Nas X down to number 8, which might still have a ton of YouTube and streaming, but lags really hard on the sales, and the radio has been a little bit sluggish. Now finally, our last two haven't moved from their positions last week despite being in free fall in all channels. Goodbyes by Post Malone featuring Young Thug down at number 9, and Old Town Road by Lil Nas X featuring Billy Ray Cyrus at number 10. The big question will be what the hell will come to replace it, cause I'm not seeing the immediate breakthrough just yet. We'll have to see. Now, you would think with an album bomb that our list of losers and dropouts would be pretty beefy and maybe even interesting, and yet I'm not really sure that's quite the case here. Yeah, there were some bigger cuts that clinched their year-end spot being forced off this week, like Pop Out by Polo G featuring Little TJ, Beer Never Broke My Heart by Luke Combs, Speechless by Dan and Shay, and Knockin' Boots by Luke Bryan, and a bunch of songs that just kind of missed the cut, like It's You by Ali Gotti, Queen of Mean by Sarah Jeffrey, and Rearview Town by Jason Aldean, thank God. But when we go to our losers here, yeah, the list is a little bigger, but that's more because there's a bunch of residual Post Malone that we haven't lost yet. Take What You Want with Travis Scott and Ozzy Osbourne falling to 40, Enemies with DaBaby at 52, Saint Tropez at 68, Hollywood's Bleeding at 74, Die For You with Future and Halsey at 80, and On The Road featuring Meek Mill and Lil Baby at 87. Then we have cuts like If I Can't Have You by Shawn Mendes down to 41, and The London by Young Thug, J. Cole, and Travis Scott at 50, having already clinched their year-end spot, along with the loss for Bad 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 as a Young Thug leftover with a Lil Baby at 93. But I'll admit I'm a bit more surprised that Boyfriend by Ariana Grande and Social Health skidded down to 36, or that Otro Trego by Sek featuring Darrell went down to 78, or that Caleta by Bad Baby and Taney slid down to 82, or that The Ones That Didn't Make It Back Home by Justin Moore dropped to 92. All these songs, they need some consistent success to have any hope at the year-end list, and this was not a good sign for them. Now beyond that, Don't Call Me Angel by Ariana Grande, Miley Cyrus, and Lana Del Rey continue to flop at 71. Right Back by Khalid featuring A Boogie with the Hoodie lost all the gains at 88. Self Control by Youngboy Never Broke Again sputtered at 96. No Me Conoce by Jay Cortez, J Balvin, and Bad Bunny slid down to 97. Adito by Taney, Annual AA, and Azuna lost hard off the debut to 98. Really bad week for reggaeton here. What If I Never Get Over You by Lady Antebellum slid down to 99. And Did It It Again by Lil Tecca crashed at 100. Now, unsurprisingly, on an album bomb week, we didn't get any returns and only a couple of gains. Good as Hell by Lizzo is continuing to surge up to 30 because of residual connections to Truth Hurts. On Chill by Wale featuring Jeremiah is up to 23 because the radio needs to fill time somehow. And Trampoline by Shade is at 18 because I honestly have no idea. Yeah, radio is consistent and had a pretty good sales week, but I'm otherwise surprised an otherwise minimalist non-entity of a song has had this much traction. But given that this is an album bomb week, the rules are in effect. For me to cover the new arrival, the song has to be either hitting the top 40 or be among the best and worst of the week. So with that in mind, the other album bomb debuts from DaBaby here are There You Go at 89, although that gargled hook probably made it one of the worst here. Probably Heard at 73. Double XL at 69, Really with Stunna for Vegas at 63, Gospel with Chance the Rapper, YK Osiris, and Gucci Mane at 55, Raw Shit with Migos at 51, Popstar with Kevin Gates at 49, Off the Rip at 47, and iPhone with Nicki Minaj at 43. But now on to our list of new arrivals proper. Number 86, Buy My Lonely by Kevin Gates.
Make a couple bands by my lonely. Fuck nigga, I don't wanna be your homie.
So am I the only one who's a little bit perturbed that Kevin Gates didn't really break through more songs this week? I get that some of this moment he's faded since 2016, but this is the only song that actually came through, and you know, I don't really mind this, and I feel like I probably should. I mean, for one, the content isn't all that deep once again, a lot of gunplay and drug hustling from Kevin Gates, and for as much as he tries to embrace more melody, he's got an oddly jerky and contorted way of doing it with his voice, where it sounds like he's straining to force every single word out. It feels really forced. It almost reminds me a little of a Lil Uzi Vert at his worst, and yet I don't really hate this. Part of this might be the creaking bombast of the melody behind the trap knock, part of it might be Kevin Gates being a more naturally expressive rapper in his lower register, and a knack for a hook that actually sticks a little better even cutting through all the auto-tune, and part of it might be the gristly focus to detail that Kevin Gates always tries to bring. So yeah, I'm not really going to call this great or all that distinctive, maybe not even good, but in comparison with most trap, I don't mind this. Not bad. Number 84, Heartbreak Medication by John Pardi.
I got my heartache medication, strong dedication.
Now, I am surprised that even though he's riding album success, that John Pardi managed to push a song through, and easily one of the better ones on the album. And given that I already reviewed the album, don't really have a lot to say about this. The fiddle and pedal steel, they sound great as melodic accents to the warm, jaunty guitars of the live drums, and while the song feels a little bit rote in some of the subject matter, just getting drunk to get over a girl that he knows the cycle's just gonna continue from here on, but it does hit the mark to do well in this sort of lane. So yeah, no complaints, just a pretty damn good song. I'll take that. Number 81, Chicken Noodle Soup by J-Hope featuring Becky G.
Chicken noodle soup, chicken noodle soup, chicken noodle soup with a soda on the side.
Okay, let me try to explain this. Apparently, as it's tied to a TikTok challenge, BTS member J-Hope and Becky G teamed up to interpolate a 2006 forgotten crunk song from Webstar that basically sounded unfinished at the time, and yet somehow sounds even worse over a decade later. For one, what is that gummy synth drizzle over what sounds like a garbled guitar in the grand tradition of BTS songs, where it whiplashes across half a dozen different genres, most blatantly across the attempt at a sweet, chime-touched R&B pre-chorus from Becky G that, let's be honest, matches with nothing. And it's not like the content really redeems this. I mean, for all the marketing promoting a cross-cultural exchange, let's be real, this is a badly produced interpolation of a twerk anthem with a nonsense hook that didn't make sense 13 years ago, and somehow sounds even worse now. To me, it sounds more like a cheap attempt to go viral in the laziest way possible. In other words, I hate to say this, BTS fans, this is really damn bad. Next, number 56, Writing on the Wall by French Montana featuring Post Malone and Cardi B. Is there any anyone else who thinks that all French Montana is really bringing to the table is connections with bigger acts, kind of like DJ Khaled. I mean, outside of collaborations with Drake that do far better than they ever should, he just simply grabs a few big names and proceeds to say a lot of nothing without even a lot of energy. And in recent years, he doesn't even vary the production all that much, just trying to get the reverb-saturated tropical scratch that worked on Unforgettable 2 years ago. And yeah, I liked Unforgettable, but this doesn't even come close to matching it. The most blatant example coming through how that clip tap somehow peaks at the top of the mix off the desaturated guitars and general swampy reverb that might work for Post Malone, but nobody else here, especially given the really muddy vocal mixing. And when you consider the entire song is a brand name flex that doesn't match the whole writing on the wall phrase that's trying to add a foreboding vibe that doesn't work here, I just wound up looking to Cardi B to deliver something that would work, and man, that Ike and Tina reference stands out in a really ugly way. Because what you really want to bring up on a flexing song is a comparison to domestic violence. Yeah, let's not mince words, this is pretty damn bad as well, especially given all the talent here. And French Montana, but let's go on forgetting he exists. Next, number 28, Toes by DaBaby featuring Lil Baby and Moneybagg Yo.
Okay, better not pull up with no knife, cause I bring guns to fight. Say you got that sack, I got that sack.
So I'll admit of the DaBaby songs I have to cover this week, this is the one for which I expected the least, and yet it turned out surprisingly decent. Yeah, nothing Lil Baby or Moneybagg Yo say is all that interesting, and the faint whistle and the melody off the lumpy trap beat, it's nothing all that special, even if it does sound better mixed than most of what the DaBaby is otherwise working with. But the flow and the cadence is a little better structured, with a bleak sort of pragmatism that actually clicks a little better than it should. The girl says she's gonna kill herself if he leaves, well, then she's dead. And if she comes at him with a knife, well, he's settling this with a gun. He doesn't bring a knife to a gunfight. It's dark stuff amidst a song that's filled with flexing, but the straightforward brutality of it all, especially with this flow, it kind of works. Probably one of the more lean and effective cuts off of KIRK, and yeah, I kind of don't mind this. Not bad. Actually kind of good. Number 21, VIBEZ by DaBaby.
Suburbans back to back and we gon' fill them up with vibes.
So maybe it's just me, but I kind of expected a song called VIBEZ is gonna have something close to a groove or a relaxing cadence, not an increasingly brittle flutter off the leaden trap beat and a load of increasingly forgettable flexing overstuffed with ad-libs. Yeah, DaBaby seems to be rotating through girls at frankly an alarming rate, and the kind of way he describes sex can be kind of funny, especially given how quickly he bounces from the scene after these girls, but beyond that, look, there's just not a ton here that really jumps off the page. Going through this project, it seems like all DaBaby was asked to do to crank out slight variations on Suge, ignoring how it's a template that can get stale really fast without much in the way of serious wordplay or storytelling or introspection. And that leads us to number 19, Bop by DaBaby.
London, my mouth watch the swerving, that whip had a cop in it.
Hell, might as well repeat what I said about VIBEZ, because it's hard not to hear a lot of the same frustrations with this, but with an Indian flute rip opposite an even cheaper trap skitter. And as for the content, it's DaBaby getting money, buying things, and playing hard to get with girls until he flies them across the country. None of which is all that interesting and kind of contradicts the central message on his verses. I guess there's a little bit of a slowdown for the interlude, but outside of that, yeah, if there's a song that highlights that DaBaby has a lot of charisma but a disappointingly limited lyrical range, might be this, especially when he's asking for the variety that he's not providing in his music. I mean, it's not terrible, but I'm gonna forget this in record time. Just saying. And that's our week. Not precisely bad, but DaBaby gives me precious little to actually talk about here. As an album, KIRK might kind of knock, but it's strikingly one-dimensional and lives up to very little of the hype that intro set up, especially given all the production inconsistencies that hurt otherwise solid songs like Gospel. Reason I'm not covering that here. I mean, he's getting honorable mention for Toes with Lil Baby and Moneybagg Yo. Believe me, I'm as surprised as you are. With Heartache Medication by Pardi easily snagging the best of the week. But DaBaby's also going to avoid the worst this week, with Chicken Noodle Soup from J-Hope and Becky G handily getting that, with Writing on the Wall from French Montana, Post Malone, and Cardi B as the easy dishonorable mention. What a waste of a song. But next week, I'm guessing it's the fallout from all this, alongside that big new release from Travis Scott. We'll have to see how well it does. But until then, I'm Mark. You're watching Billboard Breakdown, affiliated with Spectrum Pulse. And I'll see you next time.